Hello and welcome to the shop. Got a little story behind today's turning. My dad has a buddy and he plays cards with my mom and dad, and this gentleman and his wife get together once a month. They play cards, they periodically go out to dinner. They're really good friends, and this couple has a Greyhound that they have adopted, and they unconditionally love their baby. I mean, it is their baby. My dad was looking for a gift. They get each other gifts for birthdays and Christmas, and Dad's always on the lookout for something, and a lot of times it's Greyhound themed because they also collect Greyhound memorabilia because of their love of their dog. I was showing my dad some of the pins I've gotten recently, Alumilite pins with photos or images in them, and he said, "Hey, you think you could put a picture of a dog in there?" "You're darn right I can." So I told him, have Mary, that's the woman's name, take a photo of her and Bill's dog and text it to you. Don't tell Bill, just take a photo and send it. I'll send it to a buddy of mine, Michael DeLauter, and I did, and Michael took that photo and he put it on an Alumilite blank, or in an Alumilite blank on a 27/64" tube. Now these are kind of tough to see because I've already rounded over the edges and I've already squared up the bottoms. So they're really ready to go to the lathe right now. You'll be able to see the dog's photo a little better farther into the turning. But the story takes a twist there. I was getting ready to order the blank. Michael had sent me the photo for approval. I forwarded it on to my dad. He's like, "Yep, it looks great. I love it." I was like, "Hey, Dad, I got an idea. Let's pull a fast one on Mary. Let's make a second pin, and then we could give one to her too because she loves the dog every bit as much as Bill does." And Dad said, "Man, that's a great idea. Let's do it." So I ordered 2 blanks. We're going to get both of these turned and inserted in pin kits, and they're going to be ready for my dad and my mom to give to their good friends, Bill and Mary. I've lowered my tripod down to the level of my grinder so that I can hopefully give you guys a bird's eye view of how I like to sharpen my roughing gouge, which is the primary tool I use when I'm turning pins. What I like to do is take a Sharpie and I draw on the back of the tool, the bevel. Let me lay that down. And then I adjust this tray by laying it next to the wheel and spinning the wheel by hand, and the scratch should go all the way up the center of the tool. That way I know I've got the right angle set on this plate so that when I sharpen against this wheel, I'm going to get the angle that I like on my tool. Now this angle is as close to the factory angle as I can remember it being. I've sharpened it so many times, it's probably a little bit off, so I don't know what this angle is. I just know that this is as close as I can get to repeatability, and this is how I do it. We're going to let the grinder come up to speed. Face shield down. I lay the tool up on the rest. I just rotate it one way. And I rotate it the other, holding it as steady as I can. Now, there you can see my tool is sharp. Now you'll notice I've still got some black spots on here. Those will rub off as I turn. What those are from is poor sharpening in the past. Eventually, as I get this tool run across this wheel a number of times and get it back to 100% where it needs to be, it'll be flat across the face. See how this side is? This side shouldn't be swept back. It should be flat just like that. I'll eventually get there, and these little rough areas will begin to disappear. But that's how I sharpen my roughing gouge. I've got blank number 1 chucked up, and I have set the belts on my lathe to run the lathe wide open as fast as it will go. As I started turning, you saw a lot of nice little chips flying off to the side while I was truing the blank. But once I got the blank true, Alumilite comes off in ribbons, and these ribbons can be frustrating as heck because they wrap back around your mandrel and make it difficult for you to see your blank, which means it's doubly difficult to turn your pin. You need to get that stuff out of the way, because if you do not, you will make a mistake, you will get a catch because you can't see what you're doing. One thing I love about Alumilite is just how easily it turns. With a sharp tool, you can turn down an Alumilite blank in absolutely no time at all. Let me get my micro mesh and we'll polish this blank up. I've adjusted the belts on my lathe so that it spins as slow as possible. All I want to do now is polish this blank up, get any tool marks off of it, smooth it out, and I think it's going to be a really nice looking blank. This blank turned out really nice. What I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go ahead and remove this blank from the lathe, put the other one on here, get it turned, and we'll polish it with the micro mesh, and then at the same time I'll take them both to the buffing wheel. We are ready to turn blank number 2. Got a real nice fit at the bushings, and pin number 2 is complete. Let's polish it up. Well, I neglected to turn the camera on while I micro mesh this blank, but I think you guys know how that works, and I think you can see by looking at it that it turned out absolutely amazing. I'm very happy with it. I'm going to go ahead now and get my buffing wheel on the lathe, and we're going to polish both these blanks up. I have adjusted the belts on my lathe. I've put them in the middle. It's a 5-pulley system. There are 5 pulleys on top, 5 pulleys on bottom, so I'm going to be running at half the maximum speed of the lathe. And I've already applied some of the Blue Rouge to the first wheel, so we're ready to begin buffing. Let's get the second blank on the mandrel and get it buffed. Before I buff the second one, I just want to show you the difference. Take a look at this one is fresh from the micro mesh, and this one has been on the buffing wheel. It really does make a difference in your blanks. This is a Gatsby kit, and I've never assembled one of these before, so I thought I would assemble the first one on the pin press, and then we'll use the lathe to assemble the second one so I can show you how that works. First thing we want to do is, this is a threaded section for the cap, and we're going to press that into the bottom of the pin, so we'll make sure that our photo of the dog is facing the right direction. We'll put this into the press, give it a little tap, and then we'll finish it off. Bring it up to the camera so you can see that I've got a really nice fit there. It looks beautiful. Now here's the clip assembly. That gets pressed in next. And I want to align that so that it's on the back of the blank. You can see right there's a seam. I want to align the clip to cover as much of the seam as possible. Let's get that pressed into place. And you can see we've got a really nice fit there. Next up, we thread the nib onto the front section of the pin. We're going to remove the rubber cap from the ink refill. We're going to take a look at this ink refill, and you notice it's got a small end here and a larger end here. I always like to put the small end on the refill first. We're going to drop that into the pin. Our transmission then goes on the back and threads into the back of the pin. Once it's threaded in, you can see that the ink, there we go, let me get it threaded tight. There we go. Now let's take the cap. That presses onto the transmission. And there we go. Now we should be able to turn the cap, and you can see we have very smooth operation. It's a beautiful looking pin, and if we flip it over, you can see a perfect picture of the beloved pet. Let's head over to the lathe and press this second pin together. I made these the other day, and I don't know if the video for these has already been released and you know about them, or if it's the next video coming up. I'm not sure how it's going to work out. But these turn your lathe into a pin press. I've got one with a hole in it. We'll put that in the headstock. I've got one that's got a little bit of a concave section in it. We'll put that in the tailstock. To press a pin together with this new lathe-based pin press. We're going to take our blank, and there's the picture of the dog. So we're going to make this the cap and this the nib end. First thing we want to do is insert this threaded grommet into the front end of the pin. So we simply lock our tailstock down and we crank forward on the tailstock, and you can see we have a beautiful fit. Look at that, absolutely gorgeous. We're going to back our tailstock off. We're going to grab the cap or slash clip assembly. I'm going to turn to the back of this pin, and I'm going to place the clip assembly over the seam in the pin so that you do not see it. And now we'll press it together. I'm just being very careful. With this, you can apply very minute amounts of pressure, but you also want to make sure you don't apply too much pressure. Get that up there where you can see it. There we go. Beautiful fit. Let's go ahead and insert the nib of the pin, or thread the nib of the pin on. I've placed the spring on the refill, and I'm going to drop it into the back of the pin. The transmission gets threaded into the pin. We snap the cap in place. Check the action on the pin. Beautiful. We have a gorgeous pin, and we've just proven that these lathe bushings, press bushings, are perfect for assembling pins at your lathe. I really hope you enjoyed this video tonight. I had a great time turning these pins of my parents' friend's pet Greyhound. I know they're going to love these pins, and I really think my dad is going to be excited to give it to him, because this is going to be something that is going to mean an awful lot to him. I'd like to thank you guys for joining me in the shop tonight. I want you to know you are always welcome in my shop. Come back and see me again real soon. Have a great evening, everybody. Take care.